Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. In today's class, we're going to talk about something basic, which is pronouncing numbers, but we're going to look at it in an advanced training way, because even something as basic as pronouncing basic numbers in English can teach us a lot about pronunciation, accent error patterns, and spelling. So let's break down these numbers. We're going to go through at least the first 6, and we may go beyond that in order to really help you understand what accent error patterns to watch out for, what you might need to be paying closer attention to, and how to pronounce numbers correctly and easily in English. So I often say that pronouncing numbers and letters is actually trickier than it seems, even though it may be one of the first things we learn when we learn English. Our numbers and our letters are pretty rooted in our native language. That's because we use them right away when we're young to talk about number concepts, to spell, and so it's often just not, you don't have an immediate command of numbers and letters when you're trying to speak a foreign language. It's just pretty typical and normal that you can be a very advanced English speaker and still stumble here a little bit or still make some errors. So breaking it down, first of all, number 1 has a strange spelling. It doesn't follow the correct patterns. It has the w sound at the beginning for letter O. There's no letter for that really. And then the vowel sound is a schwa that sounds like So when we say 1, people often don't think about the fact that the number 1 and 1, as in he won the game, have the same pronunciation. The number 1, both of these have an O that says the sound. So I've rewritten that for you here with letter U, just so you can visualize and make sure that you're not opening up too much. You don't want one, but rather one. That's a very typical pattern for vowel schwa, that people will sometimes open too much. They'll do more of a vowel sound, like in not or father, which we do also spell with letter O. We don't want that vowel. We want the schwa vowel 1. You can use words like someone or a fun one. Fun is quite good because it's spelled that way, and when we pair fun with 1, we can use that rhyme and that spelling to help us correctly pronounce the number 1. For number 2, again, we have an unusual spelling. I don't know where this W is coming from. Maybe it jumped ship from where it should have been on number 1. But this too is pronounced the same as this too, as in me too, or I like that too. It has the true clear oo vowel. We don't reduce it. Unlike this word too, I'm going to go. This one typically gets reduced to a t sound. I'm going to go. But for number 2, we use the clear oo. Also for this too, as in number 2. Has a strange spelling too. Both of those we use a clear vowel. You can learn more about the reduction for the little word TO in my reductions playlist, my video for TO, and in many of my Real Talk videos where we talk about written words versus spoken speech. But for the number 2, just know that we do say that with the true oo vowel. So we have 1, 2. For 3, it's straightforward in terms of the spelling. We have TH for the th sound, R for the sound, and EE for the E sound. This is how we typically spell these sounds. What's challenging when we come to the word 3 is putting that TH and that R together. So I do actually have a separate video just on pronouncing the word 3. For many people, it's challenging to do TH, it's challenging to do R, and it's most challenging to put them together. So if that's the case for you, do work on your R sound separately, your TH sound separately, and then come to a word like 3 and work on putting them together. My tip for this is for your R sound, for the THR, you want to start with the R and make sure that's solid and in the right place. So when I say 3, I can start with re, 3. The back of my tongue needs to stay in position as though I'm going to say the R, and the front of my tongue just sneaks forward for that little TH sound. Re, 3, 3. If I start with my TH tongue, 3, and I pull back for the R, I'm going to end up with an extra sound like 3 instead of just 3. Or my R might roll like three, because I'm forward for that TH. Also, people will often say something more like tree for this, where the TH sound gets stopped. That's because you're blocking the air, your tongue is in the wrong place. So you really need to work on both tongue between the teeth and tongue pulled back and tight. 3. Okay, then for number 4, again, unusual spelling. We don't usually have the O-U-R saying or. So this number 4 is the same as this 4 F-O-R, except that, again, when I'm using number 4, I never reduce the sound. I'm always using an or diphthong, 4. Oh, this is incorrect. I was thinking about the spelling and not the pronunciation. So 4 just has or plus the or diphthong, 4. It never gets reduced when we're talking about the number. So just like I have 2 of them, I have 4 of them, neither of those get reduced. But if I'm using the word for, like the preposition, it's for you, I often reduce that to more of a fur sound. It's for you. I'm going to give it to you. It's for you. So our 2 gets reduced and our 4 gets reduced, but not the numbers. So 2 and 4, use your true vowel sounds there. Moving on to 5. 5 gives us a typical pattern for English where if we have an E at the end, we call it the silent E. This E doesn't make any sound, but it affects how we say the vowel that happens earlier in the word. So when we have an E at the end and the letter I, then the I says the I diphthong. The rule about this is a silent E at the end makes the letter say its name. So the letter, which we call I, we will also pronounce as I in this word, 5. I've rewritten that for you here with IGH, just because that's how we spell it in words like fight or write. And IGH doesn't typically represent any other sounds in English. I can represent more often the I sound than the I sound. So you can think of it this way, 5, or this way, 5, if that helps you to say that I diphthong. Typically for accent error patterns on things with diphthongs, it's usually about people not holding it long enough. So I recommend saying just the first part without the V, fi. Think about a word like fly that ends on the I sound, and then put your V back on. That way you can hold the diphthong long enough, you're likely to say the I rather than it becoming more like 5, 5, 5. Length and extension on that diphthong. Then we get to number 6, and we want to watch out carefully on this one for the correct I vowel. Don't let it become too tense like E or too open like E. You want that middle, relaxed, high front, lax vowel, I. Again, you can use another word like it's 6 or this 6 to match that I sound. And then the other puzzle for 6 is how do we pronounce the X. So the letter X says different sounds in different words. In this word, it has the K and this sound. I've written here with a CK. You don't really need to visualize it that way, but if you're familiar with the word sick, it can help you. We're thinking about sick plus an S. Sick, 6. If you have trouble with pronouncing 6 because it has that consonant cluster, that's a typical error pattern here. You might want to try just saying it with the K sound first, sick, then add your S, 6. I do also have a video about how to pronounce 6 and 6th, which is, again, tricky because of all those consonants at the end. You can check that out on the channel and get more details and more help for that, focusing on consonant clusters. Okay, so going from 6, we're going to move through 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I do have a video about 12, so we'll see. We may go up into higher numbers as well. I also have some numbers talking about how to pronounce numbers in the teens, like 14 versus 40, and you might find those helpful. You can search on my channel page in the search box, type in numbers, or if that's something you're interested in, leave me a comment and I'll put the link in the video in the comments for you so you can find that video that I'm talking about. And if I remember, I'll put a card in the corner for you so you can click on that video. Oftentimes We talk about lots of different topics in these longer videos, and I have other resources for you, but it's helpful if you give me a reminder that you'd like to see that, then I can share that with you directly. Okay, so leaving off, we had 7. I would say for 7, the important thing to recognize is we have 2 letter E's, but only one of them says the eh sound. So it sounds like 7. There's almost no vowel in that second syllable. So this is a good example of how we have clear and reduced vowels in words. In 7, my first letter E is a clear vowel. It's stressed. I hold it longer. It's just like in the word set or get 7. And then for my second syllable, it's basically either a little sound, a little I sound, or almost no vowel, and just going right from v to n, vn, 7. This is also true in words like human or person. I don't say man or son here. I just say men or son, human, person. You can learn about clear and reduced vowels in my video for that. And also in my online course, The Sounds of English, I talk about looking at the spelling of the word. So I don't want to be saying 7. I don't want the eh sound in the final syllable. I just want to be short. 7. Then when we go to 8, we have another unusual spelling. So the EI says the A diphthong. And then GHT, the GH is just silent, and we say the T sound. The GH probably affects the EI, it makes it say A, but this word is pronounced the same as this word, ate. I ate 8 cookies. You can also think about it like AYT or AIT. So we typically spell the A diphthong with AY, AI, or A with a T at the end. There's our silent E again, making letter A say its name. Our same rule that we saw in the number 5. Another thing to know about 8 is that if I'm saying it by itself, 8, I will say this T sound with a burst of air, but often we say this number 8, or the verb I ate. We don't let that T out at the end. That's typical for American English. If we're ending on the word and the word ends with T, we use an unreleased stop. We do that for other stop sounds as well. If I'm saying 8 of them, I'll link it together, and that T will turn into a little bit more like a D. It'll turn into a flap sound. So 8 of sounds like 8 of. I had 8 of them. Or if I am saying 8 teams, for example, I can link that together and just do one T sound. This one gets unreleased, 8 teams, and I release it on this T sound here. You can learn more about how we say T in the middle and ends of words and how we link with T in my videos for that as well. Another more advanced detail, but I think, again, there's a lot going on, even though you think pronouncing numbers is simple. All of these rules and patterns apply in numbers as well as in everyday speech. So it can be helpful and useful to break it down, practice using them. That's something I should have mentioned earlier. Don't just practice the numbers by themselves, but practice saying, after you say them out of order, because often we rely on that order to help us know how to pronounce them correctly, and use them in phrases. So I've been giving some examples of that as we go, but pick random numbers, try to put them in sentences and phrases. That's going to really help you solidify your pronunciation and make sure that you're using them correctly and you're getting some of these nuances and details that we're discussing. Okay, moving on from 7 and 8, let's do number 9. Number 9 also has the pattern of a silent E at the end, making the I sound like I. So silent E makes the letter say its name. So we have, again, the I diphthong, 9. I probably would spell it this way. N-I-N-E is the simple way, or you can think about, again, that I being like in night, I-G-H, and adding an N instead of a T like night. Again, like we said with 5, it might be helpful to use that I as an open-ended vowel sound. So you might try just saying 9 to make sure you're getting this diphthong correct. And when I link again, 9 of them, you can think about like 9 of. I have 9 of them, 9 of them. And then when it comes to 10, that's probably so far in all of the numbers we've covered, 10 is probably the simplest to say and the most straightforward because letter T says T, letter E says eh, and letter N says N, follows the rules. So there's no way to respell this. I would just write it as 10. One thing to watch out for is for that eh vowel. You don't want it to open too far, so I need to make a clear difference between 10 is open a middle amount and tan is open. For the ah vowel is more open. We also have tin, the high front vowel. Don't close too far, don't open too much. So it can help to say all 3 of them like tin, ten, tan, or start in the most open. Tan, ten, tin. These types of words and contrasts I have a lot of videos for and a lot of coverage for in our Sounds of English course. It's just going to walk you through how to get that middle ground. Many languages don't have the eh or the ah sound or even the I sound, so you have a tendency to do more of an eh here. So people will say it more like if it were a word tain, or just using this eh, not the a diphthong, but tain instead of ten. So learning to make this lax eh vowel, all these other lax vowels is really critical, and I would say that's the only danger with 10 is kind of getting that vowel correct and being solid in it. You might want to use another word like get 10 of them, them also, and that can help you as well. I do have several videos for man versus men. This is one of the places that this vowel contrast really plays out and is key. So you might want to check that one out for help with 10 and also just to be more solid on these vowels. As well as, of course, I have videos for each of the vowels of English by themselves and videos of contrast words. You can find that on our contrast words and minimal pairs playlist. It can be really helpful for listening to those subtle differences and really solidifying that you're making vowels correctly in words. Okay, on to 11. 11 is our first 3-syllable number. So we have stress on the lev syllable, which means the first letter E. We don't say 11, we say it as an I sound because it's a reduced vowel. So when my stress falls here, that's where my clear vowel is. It's my same eh vowel that was in 10, 11. And then we have the same pattern we had in 7, where we have a reduced vowel in the final syllable as well. So it's going to sound kind of like 11. Very little vowel in that final syllable. If anything's there, it's a little or I sound. Short, little reduced I in the first syllable as well. If you say 11 when you're talking when you're saying that number by itself, people will understand what number you're saying, and you may even hear native speakers saying that sometimes. But if I'm counting or using it in a sentence, 10, 11, 12, I'm always going to use this reduced I sound. I have 11 of them. You can really hear how that, if I use a clear vowel, I have 11 of them. It doesn't sound natural. It doesn't flow. We need to really have the clear vowel and the stress in the middle. The first sound is the I sound. You can learn more about syllable stress and this reduced I sound that happens in words in several videos I have for that. Again, many of these resources are available on the channel. You can also leave comments and questions. If some of these details are new to you or if you'd like to learn more about them, leave me a comment and I'll direct you to the correct resources to learn more about that. Okay, let's go on for a few more numbers and then we'll wrap up for today's class. Let's talk about number 12. 12 is probably, again, most challenging because of the combinations of sounds. We have only one syllable, but a lot of sounds in the group. So we have the W sound of W, 12. You might find it difficult to put that T and W together, in which case start with your W sound and then add your T back. So 12, 12, 12. And then I'm going to do two L's here just to kind of help you recognize this letter E says L, just because that's like how we spell it in a word like tell or dwell. 12. And then finishing on the V after the L, it can be difficult. 12, 12. What you want to do is close your teeth to your lip, V, and that's a continuing sound, 12. And also we want to make sure that we have the V sound is voiced. Avoid, you don't want it to come out like 12 with a F sound. Again, it can help to do, for example, 12 of them. Then it'll sound like 12 of. 12 of. Your V at the end can kind of jump onto the next vowel, 12 of. You might find that easier to say than just saying 12. Not easy, and I do have a video for just the word 12 as well. Let's do a couple of teen numbers, and then I do have videos for 20, 30, 40, some of those multiples of 10. I also have a video talking about 100, 1,000, million, billion, etc. So when you're adding categories. And then I also have a video talking about, in longer numbers, how to pronounce something like 1,423, where you make pauses, what the stress and intonation pattern should be there. So it's good to think ahead about all those types of things. I also have a video about decimal numbers, so some of those questions you may have are answered in those videos. Looking at 13. So the teen numbers are kind of interesting because we can stress in different places depending on what we're saying. So if I'm talking about 13 versus 30, I'm probably going to stress on teen. I would say 13 and 30. That's so you really can hear if I'm saying 13 or if I'm saying 30, because they have the same starting sound of thir. It's a challenging combination, just like 3 was, because we have the sound and the th sound. So in 13, stressing on the second syllable, 13. We do stress on the teen syllable in the teen numbers. So thinking about that like 13. However, if I'm saying 13 and 14, if I'm counting 13, 14, I might give a little more stress on the thir and the four because I want to be able to show the difference between. So those have teen as the same last number, or same last syllable. So I'm saying I have 13 of them or I have 14 of them. It happened in 1352, it happened in 1452. You can hear how then I need to stress on the first syllable. So 13 and 14, typically you're going to see kind of secondary stress on the first syllable, primary stress on the second syllable, 13, 14. But if I'm counting 14, 15, 16, I can count and stress on the primary syllable too. So for 14, it's also correct to have primary and secondary stress. Basically, in the teens, you need to stress both of them, and depending on the context where you're talking, you're going to stress one more than the other. So 13 and 30, stressing more on teen, 13, 14, stressing more on thir, and 4 to show that contrast. So yes. Okay, so I think we'll leave off there. We've covered the teens. We're talking about the basic numbers. A lot to process with numbers. So you probably, if you stuck with me this long, you might have started watching the video saying, I can pronounce numbers. I don't need help with those. I hope that you took in and learned some new information and some new details about pronunciation, stress, spelling. So many different things, even in the most basic English, can be more advanced when you look at them through the lens of how do we actually use these things. We take for granted that we're doing things correctly sometimes and that we understand the basics of pronunciation. And many of you naturally already do many of these things. You might not have been aware of it, but you're already doing them correctly. But looking at something basic like this can help you overall, not just on numbers and using them and pronouncing them correctly when you're using them, but understanding how American English pronunciation works, how we talk in connected speech, what's really happening in speech versus written words. So I hope you found that useful. Thanks so much for watching this video, sticking with me. Feel free to leave comments and questions on the video. Share with others, like it if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you'd like to see more. All of those things really support the channel, and I truly appreciate you being part of speech modification. I'll be back tomorrow with another word of the day, and on Saturday we'll have a live question and answer class. I hope you can join us for that. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye everyone. Hope to see you again soon.